Hypocrisy. He's on a crusade to turn the suburbs red again. It's the Northwest Suburbs' own Jeff Michaels. And this is the Jeff Michaels Show on 1410 WRMN.
Good afternoon. Hello. It's the talkative one of the Fox Valley. 1410 WRMN and the Jeff Michaels Show. Howdy doody, how you doing? Trump 2.0 well underway. It's kind of interesting to be seeing how the media is vastly changing and quickly so, and certainly not in ways that they would have wanted. CNN, in the process of big changes, they're going to apparently be letting go a lot of people. They're going to hire other people in more of a digital direction, I guess they're going. But what's interesting is it wasn't until Scott Jennings came along, which has been, maybe 6 months, that any Republican or conservative would be allowed on their air unless he was a never-Trumper. Any Republican voice they allowed that even let out a whiff of a pro-Trump attitude was quickly found out and relieved of their duties, like Steve Cortez. Scott Jennings is the first pro-Trump Republican that has been on CNN, permitted on their airwaves, pretty much since Trump came down the escalator. And he has been humiliating them left and right. So many clips we could play. Suffice it to say, CNN's about to go through some very big changes. I think they're going to try and get a little bit more. Obviously, they're going to try and go more center, the way they were originally supposed to be. I think the way they originally were envisioned as by Ted Turner, as much as he was a complete leftist, is. I think his thought was certainly the first CNN was going to be news. And Bernard Shaw, et al. Who can forget the 3 CNN reporters reporting live from the Al Rashid Hotel in Baghdad as the George Bush administration the George H.W. Bush administration began to bomb them in what was a war that was mostly supported by Americans. Anyway, come forward to 2016. Donald Trump bursts on the scene. At first, CNN was giving him all kinds of free publicity. He was getting these turnouts at rallies out of nowhere. People kind of took it as a joke, I think, or more of a novelty at first, till they realized that he wasn't, and suddenly it disappeared. Or at least covering it like a news story, as opposed to now calling it a Hitler rally, as it later became to be known. I think it hadn't quite made that connection yet, but certainly was the omnipresent message that they were already starting to broadcast about the Donald Trump phenomenon. But CNN is going to go back and try and go in the direction of the middle, because being all anti-Trump all the time has not obviously paid off. Their listenership, or their viewership, has plummeted, as most now know. So they're shifting everybody around at the moment. Like Blitzer goes to the morning, Jake Tapper comes up an hour, and yada, yada, yada. But I don't know what that's going to do. These are still all very lefty guys. I mean, these are left-wing, always have been, always will be, Democrats who, unlike 2016 and 2020, don't have any wind at their back. Massive support or influence on the masses, which they did for a long time, but eventually overplayed their hand and now no longer do. So I think you're going to see CNN try to go to the middle. It might actually spell the end of News Nation, which has been an honorable attempt to be a down-the-middle news presenter, but when you look into their primetime, Chris Cuomo, Dan Abrams, these guys, while trying to come center, and they've certainly kept some made some admirable attempts to sort of remake themselves as a little bit more objective journalists and not puppets and repeaters of the master Democrat Party that they have always been, including Dan Abrams, who owns Mediaite. If you ever read or watch it becomes pretty obvious what their slant is. But they're trying to kind of adapt or adopt a more centrist point of view. Not sure that it comes through that way at the end of the day, if you watch them for any amount of time. I don't know if you saw earlier in the week, I think it was like the second day that Trump was in office, and he was taking some off-the-cuff questions, which, by the way, as an aside, I don't think this is an exaggeration. I do believe that since Donald Trump was sworn in noon on Monday, he has given more, I'm sure this is true, he's given more off-the-cuff question and answer time since he's been sworn in. Than Biden did in his last 2 years. I'm sure that's easily confirmable, and I would bet anything and give odds that that's correct. Meaning time that Biden stopped and or for any other reason or in any other circumstance or context took random questions without any kind of prep or preordained list or any other help. Maybe 3 years. All the media has today, and I'm defining the media as mainstream media, which is the standard players, ABC, NBC, CNN, all those guys. The influencers that have become pretty big. Have you ever heard of this guy, Harry Sisson? This guy just makes your insides turn, or at least he did. Now he's just amusing. And he still is. I see him popping up on Piers Morgan. He's on Twitter and TikTok and all those. But these guys are all going nuts because they have only one thing. Only one thing, as I was just pointing out by Harry Sisson and his whole thing. Just pick apart whatever is happening now, Trump is doing, Trump is saying. Think back to this time in 2016, meaning Trump had just been sworn in, first week or so. All you were seeing on all the mainstream news programs and CNN and all those was, all you're hearing about was the Russian interference and then Russian collusion and the PP tape and Obama spying on the Trump campaign and how that was all prefabricated. Did they have the word misinformation back then? I don't think so. And there was already like hell going on with Paul Manafort and Michael Flynn. It gets me pissed off just thinking about it again. Well, all that stuff's gone, but they're trying. Remember when Jim Acosta, right after Trump got in office, he was made the CNN White House correspondent, and he was just giving him a hard time and all over him from start to finish from day one. Jim Acosta, who, by the way, is, I think, being put to pasture, but we'll see what happens there. Now another one of them tried to challenge Trump in one of these press conferences, one of these off-the-cuff press conferences earlier this week, just like so many others in the past have tried to take him on, and they were going to show who's boss and make him out to be the terrible human being that he is, and just got shown up by Trump like a little anchovy. And we're going to play a little bit of it right when we come back. When you listen to it and you think back to almost all of these back during the first administration, you realize how much better and how much more effective everything is going to be and profound with Trump coming back as he did, as opposed to being reelected in 2020. All All of that when we come back. AM 1410 WRMN.
This is Oprah Winfrey. Jeff Michaels will be right back with more joy. But first, I have a secret to share. When I was interviewing Kamala, I was thinking, is this the best we can come up with? But she paid me a couple mil, so I had to play along.
With Progressive's Name Your Price tool, you get coverage options based on how much you want to pay for car insurance. And then you decide how to spend the rest of your money, because you're in charge. Today, you're going to pay down your credit card bill. But you decide when you'll pay it. Before the due date, so those interest charges don't get you. But you decide if you pay it in full. But you definitely should, because again, interest charges. With Progressive's Name Your Price tool, we'll help you find coverage at a fair price. And then you're in charge. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates. Not available in all states. Price and coverage match limited by state law.
Anywhere else, Tuesday is just, well, Tuesday. But if you're at KFC, Tuesday is $10 Tuesday, which means you can get 8 hot, juicy drums and thighs for just $10. Let me say that again. 8 pieces of hot, juicy, original recipe chicken, hand-breaded in 11 herbs and spices. All for just $10 every Tuesday. Only at KFC. Guess Tuesday isn't just Tuesday anymore. It's finger-licking good. Prices and participation may vary. Tax, tips, and fees extra.
Trolling all the groves, Pingree, Fox River, Charter, and Long for misguided leftists. Trying to change one heart at a time. It's Jeff Michaels on 1410 WRMN.
One of my 2 or 3 favorite comedians of all time, George Carlin. That was brilliant. Yes, he was a liberal, but he was very much a moderate. I mean, he was very anti-environmentalist and very anti-feminist, and he was hilarious in every way that he addressed it. Now, the reason I bring him up now is because he had a bit, kind of an ongoing bit, that he included in his act early on. It's called the Hippy Dippy Weatherman, kind of early Saturday night, actually, what do they call it? A weekend update from Saturday Night Live, because, we're kind of making fun of, you know what I mean. And we did on The Tonight Show a bunch of things in the early 60s to mid 60s, making fun of the whole, the whole hippie thing. Anyway, there was one story that he would run in his one of his acts, which suddenly came to mind as I'm listening to all of these wackos on CNN and so on, continuing to be obsessed with things like January 6th. Donald Trump was reelected way after which the entire population of the world knew all about January 6th and decided it wasn't that big a deal, apparently. They're not accepting it. One of those that seems to be taking it extra hard is our favorite of them all, Jim Acosta. And I have to say that I am getting maybe this makes me sound evil. Sorry. I get an extra special piece of enjoyment watching him get his due. He thought he was such tough when he was up there against Trump. Mr. President, wouldn't you agree that, oh my God, my insides turn. Not anymore, because I have my moment. In case you weren't here last week, whenever I think about stuff like this and it gets me pissed off, I just remember or remind myself that there was that moment sometime on the evening of November 5th or the morning of November 6th when that person, in this case Jim Acosta, had to face, without any kind of ability to sidestep or not accept it, come to the realization that Donald Trump had been reelected president of the United States. Then I feel much better. Anyway, because of all these things, I'm enjoying even more seeing Jim Acosta not only go down, show how stupid he is. I'm sorry, yes, stupid he is, that he still has learned nothing from what just happened. Because we got something from a couple days ago that kind of says it all. But George Carlin, before I forget, every time I hear or see things like Jim Acosta carrying on or Joy Reid still having a meltdown and coming up with some stupid interpretation of whatever, or, whoever it is going crazy about the sea Kyle, that they really believe that Elon Musk and or Donald Trump in his organization would intend to, would allow a veiled or otherwise some level of intended Nazi salute. Give me a break. But see, it's because they don't have that wind at their back anymore, but they're still desperate. So before I get into the detail, George Carlin had a bit from his hippy-dippy weatherman, which I think of now every time I see these guys going off on one of these obsessive rants that mean absolutely nothing.
A man has barricaded himself inside of his house. However, he is not armed and no one is paying any attention to him.
He was great, George Carlin. Anyway, Jim Acosta is on his last leg, at least at CNN. It was just announced he was moved to the midnight shift, which I thought in the United States ran the international feed, the CNN International, which I believe comes out of Atlanta almost exclusively. Remember he used to be on Channel 2, by the way, in Chicago? Long time ago. He was a reporter. Anywho, Jim Acosta has been, or is being switched to the midnight shift. In media, that's always the ultimate insult. But in this case, I am pretty sure what they're doing is trying to get him to quit rather than having to fire him now. And my guess is that he probably will quit and not take the midnight show. Either way, I have to say, and maybe this makes me an evil person, I hope not, I am absolutely enjoying watching him go through this and seeing his end at CNN come as it seems to be happening. And ironically, this piece we're going to listen to, it's about a 3 or 4 minute clip that I'm sure will stop a bunch of times. He was speaking to Republican Congressman Tim Burchett of Tennessee the other day. Not even sure what the original basis for the interview was. But it's vintage Jim Acosta who says he's doing an interview, but in fact, he is browbeating, getting into a brawl, trying to overpower a Republican congressman just so he can get the better of him, with one goal in mind, as it always is, to bring the Republican down a notch, and of course browbeat, overpower, do whatever necessary to make sure that his point of view is the one that comes across as the only acceptable point of view for any good person. And a further backing of his agenda and where he wants the world to go. He wants his political views to drive the day, because he's smarter than all of you. And that's why he's about to be out of a job. So notably, this will likely be one of his last appearances on CNN, at least in prime times. From a couple days ago, talking to Congressman from Tennessee, Republican Tim Burchett. A typical Jim Acosta segment that started bad and ended up even worse. It wasn't that long ago this would have likely ended far different.
Axios is reporting that Trump's January 6 pardons were a last-minute decision. His team was reportedly wrestling with how to handle them. But according to one advisor, Trump said, quote, "F it, release them all." Your response?
Well, Jim, as always, it's good to be on here for my weekly meeting from you all at CNN, and I appreciate you, brother. And I was thinking about you this morning, actually, because I remember Rush Limbaugh, somebody called in when Bill Clinton was elected president, and they said, "Oh, I bet you're depressed." And he said, "Depressed? Heck no, I got 4 years of material." Just think, you've got 4 years of material at least, right?
Well, I'm not so much worried about material, Congressman, as I am about the president releasing violent offenders.
What do you mean, Jim, you're worried about, or you're not worried about? I thought you were a reporter, a journalist. Who cares what you are worried or not worried about? Since when is a journalist who was reporting on CNN, we're the news, remember you said that before? Where is it your place to worry or not worry about the effects or results, one way or another, of something that the president or anybody else that you're reporting on does? Hi, Jimmy?
Releasing violent offenders who attacked the Capitol, where you're standing right now on January 6th, people who were convicted of seditious conspiracy. I spoke with Officer Harry Dunn at the top of the program. I spoke with the ex-wife of Stuart Rhodes, Tasha Adams. They are both worried about their safety.
He talked to the ex-wife of Oath Keeper founder Stuart Rhodes. Ex-wife, divorced, real nasty. She's a leftist. But she's the voice of credibility. This is where American journalism has gotten today. This guy's on a national network, not very highly rated anymore, but of course we can see why. It's amazing. 20 years ago, if you were to show somebody this, they would think it's satire.
Do you defend what Donald Trump did, releasing these people from prison, pardoning them, commuting their sentences? Yes or no?
Well, I was the last person to leave the floor of the Capitol, last member of Congress on January 6th when all this went down. I was offended as anybody. If they crossed those barriers, they were breaking the law. But you got to realize, too, they are charged under federal law. Many of them never even saw their day in court and were sitting in a jail cell. So the whole thing is bad news. But you also
I asked you a yes or no question.
That's it, yes or no. I set it up the way I wanted to, laid it all the way down the line, gave you no other option. The answer is yes or no. Answer now, or you're you know what.
Do you agree with President Trump's decision to pardon these violent people and releasing them from jail?
If they were truly violent, no. But do I know that they were? I don't know that.
What do you mean you don't know that? We're showing the footage on the air right now. Congressman, you were there that day. There are offenders on January 6th who violently beat police officers. There are offenders who are convicted of seditious conspiracy. That is the truth.
What about all the police officers that were violently and intentionally stalked, beat up, and many killed? Some killed by snipers, waiting to kill them intentionally, all happening after the George Floyd stuff in 2020. Don't remember you protecting them, Jim. Don't even remember you giving any of them any benefit of any doubt.
This is a political world, Jim, and I don't remember you all on CNN condemning Joe Biden for commuting the sentences of murderers and child molesters, which he did.
Let's not forget his whole family just under the wire. Family and friends. But of course, they're not guilty. We just pardoned them to thought would be cool.
And you all
Congressman, I'm not asking you about that. Congressman, we talked about Joe Biden's pardon.
You never do,
Congressman,
Jim. You never
talk
do.
about it. We talked about Joe Biden's pardon.
Oh, Jim, you did not. You all read your report from the Democrat National Committee, as you always do.
That is absolutely false. Congressman, are you going to respond and say whether or not it is right to let these people out of jail?
We have ways of making you talk. A lot more examples coming up. Journalism as we know it, falling off the cliff due to acute TDS. That's all coming up and a lot more at AM 1410 WRMN.
If you're in charge of purchasing coring bits or diamond tooling for an engineering or construction firm, you're gonna want to hear this. 4Core Biz delivers a critical missing component in the market. Our team of trained experts make sure that you receive a full valuation of your actual coring needs to ensure that you're getting the optimum performance out of all your core bits and machines. A cheap core bit is just that. Cheap. It costs less but bores far less holes and costs more per hole. Our bits cost a little more but bore you a whole lot more holes. 4 times more. Give us a shot and we'll send you your bits before you pay us a dime. 4Core Biz. Visit us at 4corebiz.com. That's the number 4, COREBIZ.com. Or call 888-831-9557. 4Core Biz.
If you turned 65 recently like me, it's important you find a Medicare Advantage plan that gives you the coverage you're looking for. But finding one can be difficult. The best thing I did, and I suggest you do the same, is call a licensed insurance agent and let them walk you through your Medicare Advantage plan options. There are so many benefits you have access to, so make the call now and let the representatives explain everything to you. Our licensed insurance agents can offer you a variety of Medicare Advantage plans. Plus, the call is free, the information is free, and there's no obligation to enroll. We're here to make it easy for you to select a Medicare Advantage plan that may work for your needs. Finding a Medicare Advantage plan can be easy if you do what I did. Make a quick call right now to learn more. Thank you.
800-433-3082. 800-433-3082. 800-433-3082. That's 800-433-3082.
When I never graduated from high school, I realized I wanted to go back to school because I didn't want to work these back-breaking jobs the rest of my life. With the help of my father and having my son, that was all the motivation that I needed to come back to school. I felt accomplished, made me feel that I could take on whatever challenges life throws at you.
Find free adult education classes near you at finishyourdiploma.org.
Clutter happens, but junk doesn't have to weigh you down. At the Junk Luggers, we're your full-service junk removal and hauling pros, tackling everything from single-item pickups to major cleanouts. We handle the heavy lifting, and with our commitment to the green way, we rehome and recycle to keep your unwanted items out of landfills. So, whether you're clearing out the garage, downsizing, or saying goodbye to old furniture, we make the process eco-friendly and easy. Call 1-800-LUG-JUNK or visit junkluggers.com today. Let's save your space and the planet together.
If your idea of therapy involves a fishing rod, a tree stand, or a campfire, then you need American Outdoors Radio. Host John Cruz speaks your language, whether it's about the best lures, tracking game, or that one buddy who always forgets to bring the beer. John's got the tips to sharpen your aim, the hacks to pack lighter, and the stories to keep you entertained. Again, that's American Outdoor Radio with John Cruz. Saturdays at 7 a.m. on WRMN 1410. Or stream it at WRMN1410.com. Get ready to outfish, outhunt, and outcamp 'em all on American Outdoor Radio with John Cruz.
Thanks mainly to Hollywood and academia, Gen Z has been tainted. They're the first generation in American history raised to hate this country. It's likely our last chance to keep them from taking us all off the cliff. Have a nice day from The Jeff Michael Show.
Jim Acosta is not alone by any stretch. He's not a reporter. He thinks he's a reporter. But reporters don't have opinions. They're not supposed to let you know their opinions. They're not supposed to be biased at all. They're there to ask questions. The only questions Jim Acosta wants to ask a Republican are questions that corner him or her, that let him win the day. And that is why, and I don't say this with a lot of glee, why he is about to be ex-CNN biased reporter. And ironically, he gave a classic performance just a couple days ago, talking to Democratic Tennessee Republican Congressman Tim Burchett. And you listen to this and you think back the way that he took off after President Trump during his entire first term as the CNN correspondent in the White House there, with his smug attitude Like he was going to take this guy down. Like he was some kind of righteous, moral superiority God. Like he was going to be the hero, the progressive hero. My point is this. He is by no means alone. In fact, I think he represents a pretty good portion still of the Washington, D.C. journalistic community. And to that end, I now turn your attention to a gentleman by the name of Jim Risen. He's with a publication, media organization by the name of The Intercept. And he was recently on one of their weekly podcasts.
Are you more concerned about what's happening? Is this what you expected?
I've actually been so depressed since the election that I've been trying to ignore the news as much as possible, but that's pretty impossible, really, to ignore it completely. And I think it's going to be as bad as I anticipated, maybe worse. Trump has appointed a bunch of lunatics and conspiracy theorists to positions of power, and he's turned the government over to oligarchs. And so I don't think it's I think it's gonna get bad really, really fast. But I'm trying to, as I said, trying my best to watch sports.
So he's given the country over to oligarchs. Do you even know actually what an oligarch is, Jim? Does it equal somebody who's very, very wealthy? Is that considered an oligarch? So did you call all the tech CEOs and other big honchos that were always and have always been in with the Democrat Party? Are they oligarchs? Doesn't oligarch mean super wealthy at the expense of all the people out there who just live paycheck to paycheck and hand to foot or foot to mouth? Well, maybe either one. Isn't that communism or socialism? Or is Elon Musk wealthy like he is because he owns Tesla and SpaceX? Oh, they only make money because their customer is the U.S. government. Same thing with Starlink. They're just taking advantage of the U.S. government. I guess Elon needs to make more money. Does he got some alimony stuff that's kind of catching up with him? Now think about this. This country was at such a peak of productivity and confidence and soaring leadership of the world. The 60s and 70s when we were going to the moon. For all kinds of reasons, not the least of which are attributed to the left, taking over academia and so on and so forth. We became less and less motivated as time went on and should have already been to Mars. But we probably couldn't even go back to the moon without screwing it up right now, if we so had to. So now the Trump administration is talking about going to Mars again. Well, obviously, that it's all part of Elon's involvement and effect. Create a real collaboration between government and private sector, where you get the minds and motivations of the best on Earth, and really move mankind forward. Why does anybody think they want to do anything beyond that? Why do people only think that somebody who is at the forefront of such a thing only has nefarious, selfish motivations? Doesn't that actually say more about the person who's thinking that? That's what I always thought. And when you think back about this bozo we just heard talk, this Jim Risen, I can't help myself, it's only been a short time, but I just can't help myself, but whenever I hear somebody like that, think back to what was their moment of truth, wherever they were, around 1:30, 1:45 Eastern Time on the morning of November 6, 2024. And what was going through their mind? The higher affected by the TDS the lefty is, the bigger the goosebumps are for me. And one more thing I need to take to task on what something that Mr. Risen said is that Trump has appointed a bunch of lunatics. Okay, well, lunatics? How about the Assistant Secretary for Health under Joe Biden, Admiral Rachel Levine? I'm sure that was merit-based, wasn't it? How about Sam Brinton? Remember him? I should say they, them. He was working his way up in the Department of Energy, especially under the Biden administration. When he got caught, I shouldn't say caught, I guess when it came out that he was transgender. Okay, he's the first transgender person that high in government. I guess he was a nuclear engineer and was rather flamboyant about it sometimes, and that's okay. But then he got caught stealing suitcases at airports, as it turned out, targeting women who he thought had underwear, but had outfits, dresses that he could wear and flaunt. And in fact, he was photographed or had, shot, however it was, of him wearing this one dress from this woman's suitcase that he stole like 6 times until he got caught. She got everything back. But Trump's got a lot of lunatics appointed. By the way, one of those got confirmed last night. Pete Hegseth is now your United States Secretary of Defense. Congrats, Pete Hegseth. And however you feel about him, you got to give him credit. He handled all those wacky senators that went after him with the jugular. Not a lot of questions about his actual qualifications or philosophy, more just the fact that he, I guess had a active libido at one point. Speaking of active libidos, to shift away just for a second, have you heard the whispers that are getting louder now about Barack Obama and Jennifer Aniston? Stranger things have happened and have come to pass, that's for sure. But I guess the one thing that really spurred it on to the next level was this picture that he had posted, actually, of, I think it was their anniversary dinner or her birthday, one of the two. And they're sitting there at some restaurant, I guess in the D.C. area, at a table that they were sitting there about, 12 feet apart, looked like almost. And she looked awful. And I mean, it was like she just got out of the backyard cleaning up and then ran out to dinner. I mean, that's just not to be critical of her. I mean, Michelle Obama has looked lovely in many a photo. But if I ever posted a photo like this with my wife, I can tell you that I would not live to see another day. She wouldn't divorce me. She would have me killed. The divorce part would be easy. But who would ever do that? Why would he do that? Of course, he was sitting there with the $1 million smile, like he always does. It looks great. He's aging great. But I guarantee you, he could have gotten a much better picture of her with her doing nothing more than him just taking some more shots. In fact, I'm assuming she has an iPhone. I've never had an Android, but I assume they have the same thing where you can take a picture now, and if it's live, you have got about a 5 or 6 or 8 seconds swing there. You can go back and forth and find maybe just the perfect angle. I would think that he or somebody there would know about that. And I guarantee you, if that was taken with a live shot, even within that, you could probably find something that would be postable. I mean, and I'm a baby boomer. How many baby boomers know this stuff? So you add to that in the previous month, she mysteriously missed the Jimmy Carter funeral and then the Donald Trump inauguration. Latter of which I guess you can understand in one sense, because I guess she has such a guttural hate for him. But whatever happened to when they go low, we go high stuff? I guess maybe time and a place for everything. I'll tell you, between that and her speech at the DNC, his speech at the DNC, and some of the things that he was saying out in the campaign, on the campaign trail, the bloom and the lack of effect, as it turns out, to pull Kamala over the finish line, the bloom has definitely come off their rose. And back to the subject of how the media is taking it all. The New York Times daily podcast, which they call The Daily, this morning, I understand, talking about John Bolton getting his security clearance and protection revoked, said that this was clearly a clear message to Iran to execute John Bolton. I kid you not. When we come back, and it'll be a short break, I assure you, I'm going to introduce you to the new, is going to be the new Prime Minister of Canada. The populist movement is real. It's the Jeff Michaels Show at 1410 WRMN.
With Progressive's Name Your Price tool, you get coverage options based on how much you want to pay for car insurance. And then you decide how to spend the rest of your money, because you're in charge. Today, you're going to pay down your credit card bill. But you decide when you'll pay it. Before the due date, so those interest charges don't get you. But you decide if you pay it in full. But you definitely should, because again, interest charges. With Progressive's Name Your Price tool, we'll help you find coverage at a fair price. And then you're in charge. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates. Not available in all states. Price and coverage match limited by state law.
If you're in charge of purchasing coring bits or diamond tooling for an engineering or construction firm, you're going to want to hear this. 4Core Biz delivers a critical missing component in the market. Our team of trained experts will make sure that you receive a full valuation of your actual coring needs to ensure that you're getting the optimum performance out of all your core bits and machines. A cheap core bit is just that, cheap. It costs less, but bores far less holes and costs more per hole. Our bits cost a little more, but bore you a whole lot more holes. 4 times more. Give us a shot and we'll send you your bits before you pay us a dime. 4Core Biz. Visit us at 4corebiz.com. That's the number 4, COREBIZ.com. Or call 888-831-9557. 4Core Biz.
I've just been feeling so sluggish lately. You should try the Metamucil 2-Week Challenge. The Metamucil 2-Week Challenge? Yeah, Metamucil 4-in-1 Fiber helps trap and remove the waste that weighs you down. Start your daily routine now, and in 2 weeks, you could be feeling great. Well, it's been 2 weeks. How you feeling? Lighter and feeling great.
If you want to feel lighter by promoting digestive health, sign up to take the 2-week challenge at metamucil.com. These statements have not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease.
I am a non-attorney spokesperson representing a team of lawyers who help people that have been injured or wronged. If you've been involved in a serious car, truck, or motorcycle accident or injured at work, you have rights, and you may be entitled to money for your suffering. Don't accept an offer you get from an insurance company until you talk to a lawyer. And we represent some of the best personal injury lawyers you can find. Tough lawyers that will fight to win your case. And they're so good they stake their reputation on it by only getting paid if you win. So if you've been in a serious car, truck, or motorcycle accident or hurt on the job, find out today for free what kind of compensation you may be entitled to. Call the legal helpline right now.
800-257-3148. 800-257-3148. 800-257-3148. That's 800-257-3148.
Only logic and common sense are allowed. Wisdom is a bonus. It's Jeff Michaels on 1410 WRMN.
Pierre Poilievre. Hope I'm saying his name right. will likely be the next Prime Minister of Canada. This was even thought before Justin Trudeau started with his quick dive after the Mar-a-Lago ring-kissing, knee-bending kiss goodbye. Sky is sharp, and he's already being tabbed as the next Trumpian politician to, I guess, Hitlerize another government. That's probably how they'll say it. I mean, it's kind of amazing when you think about it. I mean, Milei in Argentina, who has that country turned around like nobody's business. I would love to go back and see. I was in Buenos Aires about, 12, 13 years ago. Beautiful city. Very cool. I'd love to go back and see it now. Of course, Donald Trump. And this gentleman is, many think, a younger version of the Second Coming on a smaller version. He is the leader of the Conservative Party in Canada. At least in Canada, they tell you what it is. The parties are called the Conservative and the Liberal. They're no messing around. Here, it's the Democrat Party, the Democratic. If you say Democrat, that tells them you're a MAGA. That's okay with me. There it is called Conservative and Liberal. It's right down to business. And this guy is a sharp dude. He was on Canadian TV the day of or the day after Trump's reversing Biden's executive order that opened up the definition of genders to more than two. That was reversed, and we're back to men and women. But of course, that doesn't stop the snarky journalists who are now going off the deep end, fearing that maybe there is a sudden wall coming up from the right. But this guy was being needled by a young, snarky, left-wing, obviously hard lefty. It's even more. It's kind of California on steroids up there at this point. But California is quickly catching up. But this guy was just all over him about what had just happened down at the now evil controlled United States government. And does he have designs on doing anything like that in the event he becomes prime minister?
First day on the job, President Trump signed an executive order, the U.S. government only recognizing two genders, male, female. They're unchangeable. If elected as prime minister, is that something that you're going to kind of walk in line with, or what are your feelings on that executive order?
Well, I don't know. Do you have any other genders that you'd like to name?
In case you can't tell, since you're only hearing it on the radio or however you're hearing it, and you're not actually seeing it, this kid looks stunned. It's always fun to see that when they're so kind of like, Ralph Cram, hobbit.
Me personally? I'm just asking more so if you're in line with what he is saying. Do you agree with what he's saying? Is that something that you would be lockstep with if elected as prime minister?
Sorry. Supposed to be a professional.
Well, I'm not aware of any other genders than men and women. I mean, if you have any other that you want me to consider, you're welcome to tell me right now.
Well, there's personally, I am a man. I am a people say cis man. There are people there who they say they're gender neutral. Well. You are a man. Yes, there are people there who say they're gender neutral. Yeah, they say they're gender neutral. They're a trans person. Is that something that you would recognize here, whereas in the States, at least with their U.S. government, the way they're seeing it, there's only two?
I'm only aware of two, but I mean, if you come up with another list, then you're welcome to do that. But I'm aware of two, and as far as I'm concerned, we should have a government that just minds its own damn business and leaves people alone.
Unique concept, isn't it? Shades of Ronald Reagan with his I am from the government and I am here to help thing. And it continued.
Or a man, yes. There are people there who say they're gender neutral. Yeah, they say they're gender neutral. They're a trans person. Is that something that you would recognize here?
Are you not loving it, though? I'm telling you. These media people, and I wonder what's going on in Great Britain, too. They're just as nutty as we are these days. And on that note, we're going to go back and we're going to finish with Jim Acosta again when he's talking to Congressman Tim Burchett of Tennessee. If we had time, there was about a 6-minute clip, a little bit long to play straight through on the radio, and I wouldn't have been able to help myself to keep stopping it and interrupting, especially with this thing. But we're going to end up with kind of a choice section. And by the way, again, this is a lefty trying to pretend like he's a reporter with somebody who's too smart to fall for it, without the wind at his back of the electorate and the rest of the mainstream media, all of which have finally been slapped down and shown how little of an effect they actually have on the American electorate.
Congressman, there are relatives who turned in their relatives because they were involved on January 6th. Who's going to protect them now that these people have been released?
In other words, who is going to protect the two punk leftist brat sons that turned their fathers in, neither of which were at all caught doing anything violent? I think one or both of them were part of the group that was led in to walk around and give themselves a tour, with the Capitol Police opening the door for them. And I think one of them got 7 years, something like that. And the other one, I forget what it is. They're both in jail, and they got pardoned. That guy, he's worried. And by the way, something else that Acosta keeps talking about is if they go out and reoffend, they're going to reoffend. Did they ever offend in the first place other than getting caught in this January 6th craziness? You worry about the Proud Boys that were let out of prison, that they're going to go reoffend. Reoffend how? What? Who? Where? When? And with that, I will bid you adieu. It's been a great and quick hour again. See you again next Saturday, same time, same station. It's the Jeff Michaels Show at AM 1410 WRMN.
Looking for an affordable dentist close to home? Bender Dental Care in Elgin offers new patient specials from $29, including x-rays, a regular cleaning, and exam. Senior discounts, a no insurance discount plan, and care credit financing. Bender Dental Care is a full-service family dentist with an outstanding 5-star Google rating. To find out more, call us at 847-888-4333. Bender Dental Care, affordable dentistry, close to home.
Are you ready to take your brand to the next level? Image 360 South Elgin is your ultimate destination for custom signs and visual communication solutions. Looking to rebrand your office interior? Need striking vehicle wraps or decals for your fleet? Or perhaps you're in the market for a standout trade show display? At Image 360 South Elgin, they've got you covered. As your full-service custom sign and graphics partner, they deliver bold solutions and exceptional support. From outdoor signage to eye-catching store signs, indoor graphics to comprehensive branding solutions, they have the experience to elevate your brand's presence. Trust Image 360 to create a long-term partnership that gives your brand 360 degrees of exposure. Visit them at 506 Sundown Road in South Elgin. Image 360 South Elgin. Bold solutions, exceptional support.
Your hometown radio station since 1949. We are WRMN AM 1410, Elgin time, 2 o'clock.
Are you suffering with anxiety, depression, PTSD, an eating disorder, or even a substance abuse problem? If it's causing problems at work or with your family, get help now at Insight Mental Health and Wellness. We can help and treat all types of depression and mental issues. We'll help you use your insurance to get away from it all to a beautiful, sunny, and tranquil vacation-like environment so you can recharge yourself. And with a Family Medical Leave Act, you could take the time off you need from work. Plus, with the Affordable Care Act, your treatment could be 100% covered if you're suffering from any kind of anxiety, depression, PTSD, eating disorder, or even a substance abuse problem. Use your insurance and get away from it all. Come to sunny California. Call Insight Mental Health and Wellness now. 800-419-0287. 800-419-0287. 800-419-0287. That's 800-419-0287.